Welcome to Second Chance Points. I'm Dave Rudin, back this week with my co-host Mike Walsh as we're really coming down to the home stretch right now. We have one more week left in the tournament. Four teams still alive. Ridgefield in Division I, Fairfield Ward, Staples, and Stanford in Division II. Want to talk in particular about last night's game, the quarterfinal between Ridgefield and Danbury. Talk a little Division II, but I also I told Mike before we started taping, I've been thinking about this a lot, and I want to do a little bit more of a state tournament discussion, follow up on what we talked about last week with Andrew McClellan. But I want to see which would be the better state tournament, a Division I tournament like we have right now, or would it be more equitable for everybody in the state if we do what the girls do and have all the divisions based on school size? So we'll save that for the end. But Mike, I know you got to watch Danbury Ridgefield last night, and it was a strong showing by Ridgefield, and not the way Danbury wanted to go out on what has been a real good season.
Well, I agree with that. In watching the game last night, it almost looked like Danbury had a little bit of a hangover from winning the FCAC tournament. And sometimes it's real difficult to come back from the high that you had when you win the FCACs and then the first game back, especially when you're playing your rival second game back. But still, you're playing your rival Ridgefield at Ridgefield. And Ridgefield was really pumped up for the game, I thought. They played excellent defense, and Danbury just never got started. They made a little run in the third quarter, but that was about it. I know that they weren't happy with their performance, but they have the FCI championship to be proud of. But Ridgefield, I think, is the first time they've made it to the semis in Division One, and they have a tough road ahead with East Catholic. But I was happy the way they played. They were pretty patient on offense, and they made their shots that they had to make. But their defense was really good, and I thought that was part of the reason why Danbury had a tough time even scoring against them. And that's been the Ridgefield formula: good defense, and then make shots when they have to make shots.
Yeah, I agree with you. Number one, it was the best atmosphere for a game I've seen all year. I think even more so than Ridgefield Wilton. It was sold out. It was the air of anticipation between the game. I think more so because it was a playoff game. Ridgefield brought a Ridgefield crowd, filled that one section, and Danbury brought a decent amount of fans too. So number one, it was a great atmosphere. And Danbury was competitive for the first 6 minutes or so of the game. It was 9-8 with about 2 minutes to go in the first quarter. And then Ridgefield just started to wear them down a little bit, playing real good defense, working the ball around and getting good shots, getting to the foul line. And they made two runs in the first half, a 10-3 run and 8-0 run, and got a 15-point halftime lead. And it was a pretty quick change. Other than the beginning of the fourth quarter, where Danbury scored 10 points right in a row, down 19, you figure, okay, this is going to be a fourth quarter of garbage time. And Cam Perkins hit a three, a jumper. Ridgefield called the timeout, and out of the timeout, another three and another basket. And all of a sudden, it's a 9-point game with plenty of time left, and you're saying, wow. And then after another timeout and an exchange of baskets, Ridgefield went on a 13-0 run through the knockout punch. Ridgefield again just played a Ridgefield type game. Danbury missed a lot of easy shots inside. If they had made half the shots they had missed, it would have been a little bit more of a competitive game. Some of it was the defense. some of it was they just couldn't get shots to go. But
Well, I think, Dave, when you get behind like that, every time you take a shot, you think, I got to make it, I got to make it, which sometimes leads to the fact that you miss easy shots. And I think that maybe happened in the case of Danbury. But it was a typical Ridgefield game, and you have to give Andrew and his team a lot of credit. Now, they're going up to East Catholic, and I've seen East Catholic a couple times on video. They're very good. They survived actually against Wilbur-Cross, who went
yeah,
up
I
there and
was
played, and they made a shot in the last couple of seconds to win the game. But I think Richfield has a shot there. It's on a neutral court. It's at the University of Hartford, I believe, and they're going to have the big college floor. I think that they have a chance with their. They have to make some shots, and they have to continue to play that good defense. Now, defense against East Catholic, they have pretty good size. So they're going to have to get rebound with them. I think is going to be the key. And I'm sure, knowing Andrew, that he's scouted them and he's prepared, and he relishes the fact, as he told us last week, to play a team like East Catholic. He tried to schedule them, from what I understand,
yeah.
and they wouldn't play him. But now they have to play him, and for a trip to Mohegan.
Yeah, we kind of talked about earlier in the year about the top FCAC teams and how they would fare against the top teams in the state, and we didn't really think it would, as a whole, be favorably. But you're looking again at what Drew's doing at Ridgefield to try to take them from the next step to a league power to a state power. And you look at the non-league games this year, and he's got wins over Notre Dame of Fairfield. He beat Windsor, he beat St. Bernard. So they've done very well against good non-league competition. I know they've seen East Catholic play a couple of times. Drew told me last night after the game that he's tried to schedule them. So I haven't seen East Catholic at all. All I know about them really is what I've read and what I've heard, and I know most people consider them personnel-wise the best team in the state. But like you said, Wilbur-Cross took them right down to the wire, and we've seen what Ridgefield has done with a little bit of time to prepare for a good opponent.
No, and look, anytime you play a game like that. In semifinals of the state, everybody kind of like ups their game, and it's a challenge that you take. And I mean, look at last year. Who thought that Wilton had a chance against Bristol Central? And they won overtime. And if foul shot was made here or there, they would have beat them. So I think Ridgefield is excited for the opportunity, and I think they have a chance against East Catholic, which is a very good team. Don't get me wrong. I think they and Notre Dame of West Haven are probably the two best teams in the Division I tournament. But they almost got beat yesterday by Notre Dame of Fairfield. I mean, it was a 2-point game, and Notre Dame had their chances. So anybody at that level can get beat. And I'm looking forward to seeing how Ridgefield does Tuesday night up at the University of Hartford, which, it's a nice venue. I played there before. But
I remember covering you there before.
Yeah, and but Richfield has to go all the way up there, where I think that East Catholic can walk over to the University of Hartford.
Yeah.
But no excuses. I don't think Andrew really cares. He'll play them anywhere at any time.
He'll go home to Chicago and play them if he has to. So.
He might have a home court advantage there.
Yeah, he would there. But I mean, the other commonality, talking about Wilton last year and Bristol Central, is you have two excellent coaches who are really good at game planning for a tough opponent or for an opponent that causes trouble, and then have the players to have to execute it. And I'm sure we'll see. I'm not sure what the game plan will be, but I'm sure it will be a sound one, whether it can be executed or not. Have you seen East Catholic enough to come up with what you would try to do?
I wouldn't want to try to game plan against him. I know that Luke Riley is probably one of the best coaches in the league in the state, and I'm sure that he's scouted Ridgefield pretty much too, and he knows how to attack Ridgefield. They have some size inside, and their two guards actually Luke's son, Luke Riley, and he's a senior, and then his younger brother Samson is a junior. They kind of control the game, and they have a kid inside Jones, who's a pretty good player. Richfield's going to have to rebound with them. They're going to have to make good decisions. But the most impressive thing about the Wilbur Cross game is that Cross held them to 40 something points, which I think bodes well for Ridgefield. If they make them play defense and then slow the game down, that's Ridgefield's game. Where then they make the shots, and I really think they have a good chance.
I was going to ask you, looking at the scores, is this a game where Ridgefield tries to keep it in the 40s or 50s and dictate tempo to have the best chance to win?
I think if they keep it in the 40s and the 50s, they'll win.
They'll win.
The
Wow.
40s anyway, but and I just think that there's a confidence level, and they execute so well on offense. Of course, the key is going to be rebounding and keeping East Catholic off the boards, because besides the two Riley guards, they have the kid inside that's about 6'5", and he scores inside. I saw him play Northwest Catholic, and Northwest Catholic played with him for a little while, and then they just exploded. They hit some threes, and they got inside baskets, and they beat Northwest by 20. So, I mean, it's not going to be easy, but I think that if they can control the tempo of the game, make some shots, they have a chance to beat them and go to Mohegan, which would be a great thing for Ridgefield.
Yeah, if they get themselves to Mohegan and with a really different kind of team, a team without a real star on it, or just a real collective, it would be a great accomplishment. I mean, it's already been it's already been a nice run for them. I know they're disappointed by what happened in the FCIAC playoffs and the loss to Staples in the semifinals, but the play. I think the players were saying afterwards, they used the word embarrassed, which they shouldn't have used, because there's nothing to be embarrassed. Not embarrassed that they lost to Staples, but they kind of felt like they let the program down. The team that ended the streak there.
Well,
I would have used the word disappointed instead of embarrassed, because
well, let me tell you something, Dave. If in fact they do go to Mohegan, and if in fact they to the point where they win a state championship, nobody's going to remember that they lost to Staples. They'll remember that they won the state championship, and I'd love to see them do that, and they have a chance.
That well, certainly it's best for the Rudin Report readership to see the FCIAC teams do well. So it should be a good game. I'm looking forward to making the ride there. That's Tuesday night, and before that, and we've got the Division II tournament, and that's coming up on Monday night, and we have 3 teams still alive, and they're all in the same half of the bracket. So if somebody can play Holy Cross Killer, we might be assured of getting one team to Mohegan some, but we have Fairfield Ward, which I saw in the previous game against Daniel Hand. They're going to play Stanford on Monday night, and then Staples, which two good wins to start the tournament. They get number 2 seed Holy Cross. Have you seen? You see everybody. Have you seen? I know you've seen Holy Cross some, and have some ideas about the keys for.
I saw Holy Cross, Dave, play. Actually, they played St. Joe's. It was a close game, and then they, just blew St. Joe's out. They beat them by about 30. But they also played Connor, That game surprised me because the final score was 42-28. And I looked at that game, to be honest with you. The thing about Holy Cross and Waterbury is that they're not big. I think the tallest player might be 6'2", which bodes well for Staples if they play the game the way I think they'll play it, and make Zajac the primary focus. They can get the ball inside. Holy Cross, when I saw them, played a 2-2-1 full court press, sometimes to trap, sometimes to slow you down. They fell back into a 2-3 zone. Now, in the 2-3 zone, if they can get the ball to Zajac, I think he can score inside. If not, he can kick it out. So the key again with Staples is going to be their guards. Can Rothenberg, can Sales, can the young freshman, can they make shots? If they can, I think they'll beat them. Uh, they're very capable of beating them. Holy Cross is very good. Don't get me wrong. They had a great season and only lost a couple games in the NVL. But the NVL was not as strong as it's been in the past. And basically, they're a guard-oriented team. They want to get out. They want to run. So I think if they can get Zajac inside and get the ball to him, and he can either score or kick it out to the guards, they got a good chance of beating them. And as you know, we'll both be rooting for Staples because they've had a great season. I think it's a shame everybody's on one side of the bracket though, because it'd be nice to have two FCAC teams get to the finals. But that's not going to happen.
I think it'd be nice just to get one FCAC team
One of
to the final.
well,
Looking
I
at
think
it. I'm looking at it more. It's good they're both on the same side because it enhances the chances. If Staples can knock off Holy Cross, maybe the Fairfield Ward Stanford winner can.
yeah. I mean, obviously, Ward. I thought when I looked at the brackets, I thought Ward had a
You liked
really
Ward
good.
right off the bat when you looked at the brackets of getting to the finals and winning it.
Yeah, I thought they had a. And how did they look the other night against Hand? I didn't see that game.
A mixed boat. They looked really really good at times. Hand's a good team. Hand's a much better team than you would expect to see in the
Well,
second
they won the
round.
division. They won Division III championship last year.
Yeah, and they're good. They got a couple of sophomores who can really shoot the ball. And there was a time where Ward was up 9 or 10 points, and then they just kind of got lax and handout hustled them, and basically winning. If it was a soccer game, you'd say they were winning 50-50 balls, but they're just out hustling them, and they got the lead down to 1 point, and then your guy Jack Plesser put on the Jack Plesser show, and I've never seen a guy miss so many balls, have so many layups rim out. It was like he kept looking like it looked almost looked like he was at a carnival where they had you're trying to hit the foul shot and they have you can't tell, but they have the basket angled in a way so there's no way for the ball to go in, and he had like 4 or 5 of them in a row just rim out, but he was fouled on all of them and went to the foul line, made his shots. He scored 33 points. When we've seen it so many times with a close game with Fairfield Ward. Just give the ball to Plesser and let him take over. David Melson had 17. He played really well. By and large, it was a good performance against a good team. There was a couple of moments they got a little lax there, but and for them going forward, it's good that they played a good team in the second round. Give them a little bit. Give them a little bit of a test, get them ready for the rounds coming up, and just a reminder of the work that's going to be needed to get to Mohegan Sun.
Well, and then they faced Cinderella in Stanford.
I don't know if I would you call them Cinderella? I think I'm not shocked at all that they're still there.
They beat a Guilford team who's not a bad team. In fact, I think Guilford had double overtime game against Fairfield Prep a couple weeks ago. And, they got to these quarterfinals because I think three players are really playing well for them. Obviously, the all FCIAC player Presley, Winchester, and J.J. Salvatore. And they do have role players that are around them. It's not going to be an easy game for Ward because they're very athletic. And I think it's a good one to watch. Uh, uh, and I wish, are you going to be covering that? Or no, you're going up to the girls' game,
Yeah,
right?
I got three games and two. Ludlow girls are playing in the state semifinals. That's priority number one for me.
Yeah,
Ch-
let's give them
yeah,
credit, by the way, Dave. I don't mean to
Ludlow,
interrupt.
Ludlow girls basketball team, when healthy, is the best team, boys or girls, in the FCIAC by a little bit of a margin. The problem is they're they have a girl who's plays guard but could play one or five or everything in between, named Callie Summers, who's a great lacrosse player and maybe definitely the best athlete in the best athlete in girls basketball and one of the best female athletes in the state. She's going to play lacrosse at Stanford, and in the FCIAC championship game, she tore ligaments in her ankle. So she's trying to find out if she needs surgery, but they
Well,
you
yeah,
know
I think
they have two other big girls and good guards, and uh, Ludlow girls, if you just talk boys and girls comparative, Ludlow girls healthy are the best team. So
well,
uh,
I really think that uh, Sarah Kinsley deserves a lot of credit because she's had injuries and she's had some girls get in foul trouble, but they've team has been able to overcome it from the beginning, and I think that's a good coaching job. And credit to her and to her team. They made it to the play Newtown in the semifinals,
and
and
Ward almost and our friend Dave Denko almost beat Newtown the other night. So Ludlow's undefeated, and good shot to get to Mohegan Sun even without Summers. But so
well, we'd love to.
I'm gonna be at that game, and then I probably was not normally gonna cover either of the two games, but once we got two FCIAC teams playing each other, I hired a freelance team, so we'll be at two of the three games.
You're going to be a busy guy, and I'm glad to see that you're feeling better, getting over that pneumonia, and
Minus the cough. The cough only happens when I talk, which isn't really good for everybody out there listening. But
well,
if
you're
I'm
doing
not,
a good job at it. I'd like to see Staples play the winner of Stanford and Ward.
yeah,
I
that's
think that would
certainly
be
the
a
hope
great
here
thing
as
for
we
the
get.
FCAC, and that would mean that one team is going to the Mohegan Sun, and and then if you could get the girls team to go to Mohegan Sun too, you could spend the whole day there. You'd have a ball.
But we could have the whole town of Fairfield there. We can have maybe we'd get back to the Ludlow girls, the Ward boys, everybody in the town supporting Fairfield basketball. I don't think that's the way Staples or Stanford are looking at it, but yeah,
Yeah, don't count Stanford or Staples out. I
no,
think
not
either
not
of
not
those
at
teams
all.
could upset people.
Stanford
If
could
that
get more
happens,
trouble, and they already beat Staples during the regular season.
yeah, but that regular season doesn't matter. When you get to the playoffs, anybody can beat anybody, and I'm sure that the people of Westport would have several buses going up to Mohegan if Staples ever got there. And Stanford, I'm sure that Latour Express would be heading up to Mohegan Sun. So it's exciting. Yeah, FCX season's been exciting, and to see the opportunities that these teams have right now, I'm glad for the coaches and glad for the league, and I hope they're successful.
Okay, now that we've kind of talked Division Two, I want to kind of backtrack to excuse me, a state playoff discussion, a little different than what we talked about. Mike and I told him I wanted to do this beforehand. You know, we're not getting into the whole, you know, we all know that we want everything based on the present, not the past. Here's something I was thinking about. I was at the Ward hand game the other night, and just because we're talking about Division One all the time, and with Division Two, I almost kind of felt, and I shouldn't have felt this way, but I kind of felt like I was at an NIT game and not the NCAA tournament, because we get so caught up on Division One and saying those are the best teams. Well, then, if they're the best teams, are we saying the teams afterwards are not the best teams? Uh, what I'm thinking, and it doesn't matter if we had a 16 team tournament or a 32 team tournament, but for the good of all of basketball, I mean, we all would love a 32 team Division One best of the best tournament. But if you do that, what are you saying about the other tournaments? Are you saying they lose some of their credibility because you already know they're not the best teams? Would we would we be, for the good of the whole tournament, all of Connecticut basketball, would it be better served to do what the girls do and do what the boys used to do, and have all the tournament divisions based on school size, and then factor in the Catholic schools go to double L, having to meet some sort of criteria. If they fail to meet certain criteria, where they could go back to what their school size is. So that way we have four. Well, we're never going to lose 5 champions with the Gates. So we'll be nice and say 5 champions for now. But you'd have 5 champions all based on playing a level playing field, their school size, and you would have all the Catholic schools that would normally be in Division One would be in double L. You'd get most of the teams that would be in a 32 team tournament. You'd get most of them in that double L tournament.
No, Dave, I hear what you're saying, but I really think that having a Division One tournament makes it kind of special in the state. Now, Division Two, Division Three, Four, or Five, as they have it now, it probably does feel a little bit like the NIT, and except to the people that win it. They kind of, they're looking at it as their own tournament. And I understand what you're saying, that it looks like maybe it's not as good, as teams are not as good. But of course, the way we do Division One now, one
Right.
quarter of the teams are not that good anyway. Uh,
No, and let's and real quickly, because I don't want to go back on. But old argument from last week, the Division One tournament, the first round, having all these teams that didn't belong there. 8 games, average margin of victory, 25 points. 3 games decided by 39 or more points, and we had 2 competitive games, one decided by 2, one decided by 5 points. Current system is broken, doesn't work, need to be fixed. But rather than, again, rehashing that, let's do we go to a Super One tournament, or are we better served on school size?
well, let's look at your tournament, where you would say go back to school size, double L. I'm not opposed to that, by the way. Uh, if you take the double L tournament and you make it, call it what you want, double L Division One, but you take the best teams, and the Catholic schools, of any Catholic school over 500 should be in Division One or double L, and then for there just go L, M, and S. This way you keep the small schools an opportunity, a chance to win.
Which is
Um,
important.
but wouldn't you still have the same um, disparity, saying, hey, we're putting all these good Catholic schools with the double L schools that are good, and you'd still have it. I don't see that there wouldn't be still like you win Division two, you win Division four, so what? Um, I don't know. I think it's kind of special having a Division one. I'd like to see a 32 team tournament. I'd like to see it mandatory that the Catholic schools over that are good are in Division one, and then go your other divisions. And it's like life. Life is not always fair, and
No,
they,
I'm just looking. I'm just looking from, and this was all my personal feeling, looking at Division Two, which for to me is like right now. Well, it's not the Division One. So is the champion going to be sort of an also ran? And if we had a 32 team tournament, most of these teams that are still alive would be playing in it. St. Bernard would, Windsor would be in it, Holy Cross would be in it, Staples and Ward would be in it. We'd have to look. Stanford would be right on in gray area whether they would be in it or not. So all these teams right now would be in a 32 team tournament. But when you get to teams 33 through 60 or whatever, what exactly that's an NIT tournament. A
well,
real
what's wrong
NIT
with it? What's
tournament.
wrong with an NIT tournament?
I'm just
The
I'm just
and the NCAA does that. Aren't you
I'm
looking forward to Sunday when they
yeah,
announce?
I'm just throwing it out there, looking at being the nice economical guy that I am. Looking throughout the tournament, you could say if you win S, you're the best of this. If you're the M, you're the best of this. If you win L and double L, you're the best of this. If you win Division two or the middle tournaments right now is just like a haphazard
You,
group.
you can still say you're the best of two, the best of Division three. Although, I don't really think the way it's set up now, we kind of all agree that there's a problem, and it has to be changed and based it on the. Because why is Bloomfield in Division three?
Well,
Uh,
again, it's
I mean, they must be these Catholic.
no. I
Uh,
mean, they're obviously teams. They would be in a division. They would be in a 16 team, the Division One tournament. I'm just throwing it out there as we kind of wind up the podcast here. Uh, just food for thought there. In terms, I want a Division One tournament too. I would love a 32 team, really well thought out, devised tournament. Everybody in the state would. I was just looking at if you get you'd have a bunch of teams that I cover that would then be in like a Division two tournament, and I don't know, maybe the teams don't look at it, maybe I'm looking at it differently, and I'm you could throw a whole field together which has nothing in common, and whoever wins that tournament, the kids that
I
win it
don't
are,
I don't disagree with some of your thoughts, except that if we go back to our famous, we keep referring to this 2001, 2002
yeah.
tournament. The Division two tournament was an excellent tournament, and so was three, and so was four.
Yeah, like I
And
said, I'm just, and I'm not saying, I'm not making the argument this is how we should do it, but I do think it's an interesting debate.
it is well, it is an
It's
interesting
an
debate.
interesting debate. I'm not,
But
I would love a Division One tournament. Like I said, it was just something I'm thinking about because, like I said, in a real good Division One tournament, Warden Staples would be there, and I kind of look at the Division Two tournament. I guess just as a sports writer covering it, it made me look at it a little differently. Maybe that's my issue.
well, I think it's because you're in Emery Filmer's pools and you're looking forward to the NCAA tournament. But
Uh,
either way, the tournament has to change, in my opinion, and hopefully it will. And the thoughts that you have and the thoughts that others have, maybe we can get that somehow on the table and get the CIAC to go along with it.
Okay, well, let's cut off all the talk right now. Talking of NCAA, I've got some conference tournaments here. I want to finish watching. We'll have some good games on Monday and Tuesday, and hopefully we'll have games beyond that. And Mike and I will be back next week, which will probably be our final podcast to wrap things up. So, Mike, thanks a lot. Everybody out there, thanks for listening, and we'll see you again next week.